Pay-to-play impressions for the Tom Clancy's The Division 2. Well, I'm going to get into the game. I'm going to explain why it's a pay-to-play impressions. First of all, it's because there's still content coming out for Division 2. It's in a third-person tactical shooter MMO with a looter mechanic elements. I would say not the elements. I would say even pretty much it's a looter shooter. In that way, also, as much as it's a third-person tactical shooter. So because of that, it's a pay-to-play impression. Second of all, is because I haven't finished all the content that's already available. Now, as I'm going to be going around in the game, you will see above there in the upper left corner that the game, well, OBS is actually capturing the frame rate and the performance of my. Damn it! I had actually frame drop there happen. So performance of the game itself and of my hardware. My hardware, you can find I do provide it overall the details of what I'm playing on. So therefore, you can judge yourself how the game plays. It's on the high settings. Let's look at the game. Here it is. Just look at the overall the game elements. Pretty well done. Everything looks pretty well. In terms of looks, it's pretty clear what's what it could be. You can shoot at. I'm just gonna go at the map and just put location where I want to go. So that way I can just slowly proceed to that location. So we have day and night cycle here. So right now it's a day, but eventually the sun is gonna set. It's gonna get darker, then it's gonna get lighter again. So that's gonna happen. There's also dynamic weather. Eventually the weather will change. Again, I'm getting this weird frame drops more often than usual, and I will talk about that later. So we have dynamic weather, and so depending on the weather conditions, we're gonna have a situation such as
detecting additional hostile
visibility might be impaired because it's raining so heavy, or there's something like a dust storm or something like that that's impairing visibility. Enemies, as you can see, have weak points. Also, it can be set yourself on fire. That is.
Detected.
The fallen won't be forgotten.
So I'm going to just pick up an item here. That's in the supply drop.
Friendly control point nearby. Supply drop claimed.
More than usual
Additional
frame drops that I expected. So, I'm gonna throw one of my abilities in. That will take care of that guy, and maybe that guy also. No.
Incoming hostiles detected.
Alright, let's do this. One open up. There we go.
Supply drop claimed. Detecting additional hostile
We have
contacts.
here we have some friendlies helping us out. Just gonna throw this guy up there. There's another ability I have which have a turret. And there should be one more box to open up. While enemy is busy, except this one guy is not gonna shoot. Gonna stop it. Yeah, the box.
Immediate medical assistance needed.
Depending where I shoot the enemy, they'll hop on their leg or one leg, or they'll, you know, hold on to their arm or something like that. That's pretty much. Why do I have the turret for? They don't come up. Come up. Alright. There we go. So we got some gear.
Supply drop
That's
claimed.
one way to get it. Killing enemies is the other way to get it. There's a whole bunch of boxes that you'll find
Supplies dropped successfully.
as you walk around, so there's always gear available. Not a problem. So we were talking about the look of the game itself and how it was feeling itself. So, like I said, you can clearly distinguish enemies. It's all other people. It's very much visible. Visibility will be impaired by the weather conditions. which is fine, which is how the game's supposed to be played. It's part of the kind of a gameplay, so I didn't find that any kind of a problem for myself. Now, as you walk around, you will also see animals. There's rats, dogs, birds, there's raccoons, foxes, deer. You can shoot the animals if you want to. I haven't shot the animals. There's no point to shooting animals. At least I don't see any point. The game does not really tell you why they shoot them. Now, there it is. You know, right there. See, shoot the rat there. Okay. So, there's a deer. Right. Depends on as you play. You might see more or less. There's also a bald eagle I saw somewhere, and so on. So pretty, you know, nice and really good looking environment. Here we have dynamic weather, which making things harder for me to see, and we got having frame drops for some reason as I'm recording this. This is kind of weird. But anyway, let's get back to the actual talk about the game. So there's also friendly NPCs that you can encounter. Not that many of them out usually about, but there are some. And when it comes to those NPCs, you can't hurt. No matter, you know, you can shoot at them, nothing gonna happen. It won't do it. It won't attack you, and it won't get any damage. Now, visually, the game is pretty good. Like I said, like everything's pretty clear, nice, well done. Also, on the missions, I found that some environments were constructed really well. That you have a contrasting features between the ideas of what where you are basically, in what it is like. So you might find yourself in some kind of a quarantine area, which I'll talk about why is this a quarantine area or a refugee camp, and you see this, you know, medical equipment thrown around, but also you see have all this Christmas decoration stuff in this kind of childish atmosphere, and it's kind of contrasting that happiness versus not a very happy place location where it's, you know, quarantine over safety. Well, because they say, and so on. We'll talk more about that later on. Oh, there's a flamethrowing enemy.
We have to finish them fast.
Oh, it's one of the bosses. So I'm going to need to have stuff here.
Serious trauma detected.
All right. Let's see. Let's make sure we got. Well, the turret is doing a lot of work right now, so that's pretty good. I'll be recuperating. I don't want to use any of my. Well, I can use the sound summons, but I don't need to. There you go. So we could kill like a mini boss type of area. I did not expect this to happen. That's pretty good. Okay. Now we can go ahead, pick up ammo and stuff like that. And there's more stuff to open up, but I'm just not gonna do that either. So let's continue on. So, given that kind of look of, you know, you have a childish type of wonder with Christmas toys, and then of course, you know, epidemic and stuff like that. That's kind of interesting contrast to create a sense of how, you know, the environment is look like, how deceptive the things are. That I found interesting. So. Also, as you walk around, as you do things, as you improve things on the map, so there's a few areas like that you can see here. You have safe houses and so on. As you go and you do different things here, the way people interact with you, the way things look, begin to improve. Like the safe houses themselves begin to the visual improvements to that, so that's pretty nice. Now, that's pretty much the look of the game. The surroundings and such, but let's talk about the actual what the game is about. Well, this is a post-epidemic world, so there was an epidemic, lots of people got killed. I'm gonna throw my ability here, a seeker mine, and take care of these guys.
We got a casualty.
Except this one, he didn't die. Okay, so there you go. So, and now you are a member of the unit called Division, which is trying to keep law and order. Your character actually is called Sheriff. Your character is a silent protagonist, you don't have a name and so on, so there's nothing there. And overall, though, all the characters so far I encountered, and you know, except maybe one enemy boss that seems to have some kind of a
Control point detected.
look to, in some ways you can say, a more of a human, a more of a three-dimensional character that it turns out. The other ones I have not so far. I got anything that really tells me that they are anything but just more one-dimensional characters. Your character, of course, is completely one-dimensional. So there you go. All right, let's get rid of these enemies. I'm going to just use sniper rifle to do this. And I'm getting more frame drops than usual. And that's something that I actually should have talked about. So, in the game I did encounter weird frame rate drops. There's no logic to them, at least I didn't find anything. And usually the game runs at 60, no problem. I'm using DirectX 12, but you can also switch to DirectX 11, although I did find the game has actually more frequent frame rate drops. They drop lower than on DirectX 12, but you do have a generally also higher frame rate on DirectX 11. You will usually get higher than 60, but on DirectX 12 I generally just get 60 FPS. Like I said, I'm running it on high. So back to the characters, back to the story. So that's pretty much the story, but the story is more of a post-apocalyptic, where you're trying to kind of help people survive, build up settlements, build up that kind of stuff. So it's not really, epidemic is kind of it's there, you know that it happened, but there's not much effect. Like it's not, you're not looking for a cure, you don't have sick people to look after, anything like that. It's already done. Like the epidemic project kind of burned through the society already. Now, so given that story, so what else the game is about? Well, the gameplay elements, it is about this. It's about getting better gear. That's what it is all about. It's you trying to find better guns, better armor, better modifiers for your stuff, and so on. Like, you know, you can modify your rifles and get stuff on them and so on. All that is available to you, and it's all pretty much about that. It's getting all these items, using, say, different abilities. You have different skills and abilities that you can put on, and building up your character to the most optimal way that you want to play it. And now we're getting into the reason why this is a pay-to-play. Impressions for me now is because I just not finding that interesting, not enough compelling for me to keep on going. I find that it's in the end, missions and everything else is repetitive, and the story-wise is not that interesting enough for me to capture it, to compel me to play further on, and I just don't want to try to min-max all this stuff. But if you are into that kind of stuff, there's a lot of elements here for you, different attributes, different modifiers, everything from that you can play around depending on what kind of modifications you put on the guns, what kind of elements they have, what kind you find, so on. Right? The guns have damage, or have how fast they fire, how much ammo they have. All that's available to you, so to play around with. There's plenty of stuff to work with. So if you're into that kind of game where you are looking to maximize the build of your character, then this is a game for you. And we had another weird frame rate drop for some reason. I wasn't having this earlier that bad when I was kind of preparing for this. So what to do in the game? Well, there's lots to do in the game. You can see that's the whole world. Well, there's actually another map. We'll talk about extra content available, but this is all that's available to you. You got missions. This is like a main mission. So there's also a few sub-missions that are already done them, so they don't appear, but there are sub-missions. There's also something called classified missions that you can do, but they do have like a timer on them, so after you do them once, you cannot do them again for a bit of time. There's a safe houses. Once you enter the safe house, it will give you a new mission. A bunch of missions. There's something called projects, which are kind of also missions that you need to complete. It's ideas that you need to complete some other activities in your area, and so on. There's settlements which give you missions, and there's also control points which don't give you missions, but it's kind of a thing that you can also do. is something called caches, which is a way you can find some of your crafting items that are more like blueprints for you to craft. There's hidden items. Let me see. I believe I had one somewhere here, like a hidden item that deliver a bit more of a story to you. If you want to learn about more of that, you can go look for that. Some of them actually are in the missions themselves, so they do provide story this way as you play through the missions. It's kind of good. Other ones are not, just randomly thrown about. They do add on more flavor to the game, more information to the story. So, but given all this amount of stuff, I found it very easy to lose track of what my main story was, like what my main mission was. Why did I end up in Washington DC? That's where the game takes place. Why was I sent here? And I had no idea. I actually forgot one point. I had to Google it for a bit. I think the game did tell me, but it got drowned out in all the activities that's available here. So let's get to actually the biggest safe house possible. This is a base of operation, and it's actually the White House. So I'm going to just go around through here to the White House. Oh, one element I'm going to mention is this. Like you saw me use a cover in the game. This is a cover-based game. It's all about running from cover to cover. There's not much jumping. You can climb over stuff like this. And there's a few actually places that do a bit of climbing. Just like normal climbing elements. Another thing that you mentioned is that you can shoot through glass. So if the enemy is standing on the other side of the glass, yeah, you can definitely shoot that enemy, and they'll get damaged. At the same time, the certain items might provide more cover than they should. Like plastic stuff might actually provide cover where you would expect them to be easily shot through, billboards and so on. But that's how it is. Here we are at the White House now, finally. And the White House itself, well, it's actually a White House, and I've never been inside the actual White House, so I don't know how it looks inside, but maybe they know how
We've just received a distress call from
accurate is the creation of White House. Now you also hearing something that this is expansion content. It's inviting me to go ahead and do the expansion content.
There's a helicopter prepped for us. We need to leave now.
So yeah, so this was the expansion contest. Here's the White House, and you can enter the White House itself. Here it is, and then there's a few floors up there. So if I go into the White House, it has a lot of things here. One of the interesting things, it has a bunch of vendors. Kind of repeats itself when it comes to vendors. Another vendor here, here, and there's a few more here somewhere. Well, there you go. There's another one. Not sure why do we need that many vendors, but the first time I checked them, when back in the day, they were all pretty much same in terms of offering the stuff. But yeah, they are there. So if you want to look at the different vendors, there you are. Now, one of the interesting things that the game does have is the interesting crafting mechanics. So here it is. We have crafting table. That's how you actually get all the add-ons for your guns. How to craft them. You also can craft the guns. You can craft the armor and so on, and that's possible. But there's also another one here. This is called a Calibration Station. And what it allows you to do is to pick certain elements of your weapons and kind of pull them out of that weapon. So it allows me, if I, let's say, look at the gun, something like that, to pull up these characteristics here, like of the gun, and then I'm able to put them onto a different gun. So this allows me not to search for that optimal gun that has every single element I want. Instead, I can pull them from different ones and just combine it on the one that I really like. That way, it's very interesting. And you can do that with armor and so on and so on. There's plenty of stuff that you can do. That's a very interesting mechanic. I really like that when it comes to crafting. And so what else you got in the White House? Well, you got also something called the staff members here. The staff members are the ones that allow you to do different activities. As you get them, some of them will be vendors, some of them will be crafting guys, like so on. You get these guys through completing the missions, the main story missions. There is no really rhyme or logic to why certain staff member become available after certain main mission. They just become available. You pick them up usually at the settlements, and they kind of join you. That's it. They end up in White House here, the base of operations, and certain things become unlocked for you. There you go. That's pretty much how this works when it comes to the base of operations and everything else. So we already talked about a bit the other things such as the car mechanics, the shooting through the glass type of thing. Well, there's also something that we can talk about. Actually, let's do this. And it's a map, and on the map is the fact that that you can have a fast travel capability. So if I want to fast travel back to where I started, it's possible. Here, there you go, I can do that, and right there. Be fast traveling now. Now, in this kind of loading screens, you get 30 FPS. That's standard. And here we are. We're back at that control point where we started the game. Right? So fast travel is available, but generally, if you need resources and stuff like that, if you for some reason low on them, usually at the beginning, running from one place to another actually is interesting. When it comes to what else to do is that as you run around, you might encounter random stuff. There's a random encounters such as here. You see there's question marks that you can run into. This will be different ones. This one tells me that there's a propaganda broadcast that I need to take care of, and so on. So this is kind of elements that you complete. You also might run into bosses like we did in the beginning. You run into one boss that like a mini boss. That's another thing that you will get to experience if you run around everywhere without fast traveling. Finally, when it comes to main missions, let's talk about this. Any main mission that you play, doesn't matter which one, you start out playing it on the story difficulty. So there's no way to up the difficulty until you finish the story on the story difficulty. Then you can play it at any other difficulty. And my understanding is that you will need a bunch of people to play on hard difficulties. And it's possible. It's possible to call in people randomly to help you and assist you. That's totally available in the game, and that's kind of making the game in a certain way interesting. I had that experience. I generally had that when I was kind of just running around and got killed. I said like, I don't want to go back to the previous control point or other safe house because that's where you get respawned. So you call for assistance, and a random person on the server will show up and help you. They'll revive you and run a few missions with you if you want to. You can always leave leave the actual joint session once they revive you. It's up to you. You're done with that session or with those missions. It's all available to you. Otherwise, basically that's what we have here. You know, what else to do? Well, there's also something called the dark zone areas. These are areas where you can do PvP, and there's enemies so much more hard and so on. And there's also events in the game. And there's also expansion called the Warlords of New York. It's an expansion that there's also been a few actual further. There's going to be further seasons that are going to be adding on. The Warlords of New York take you back to where Division 1 story was taking place in New York, and it kind of tries to build up on that events there. In that way, I haven't played it, but it's available to me if I ever wanted to. So right now they do sell the game together with that expansion. So it's possible if you don't want to play through this section, which said doesn't really have much of a story, you can jump into that one if you want to. There seems to be all the events and all the new stuff is being added in that section of the game, the New York section. So having that is extremely important. But thankfully the game is being sold together with that. I'm getting that frame rate drop again. Weird. Like I said, I wasn't having that happening that often for some reason. Just happening right now. Well, that's pretty much what I would like to say about the game. Now, overall, it's a good game. If you are into this kind of max min of your character or min max of your character, that's exactly what you should find here, and you'll be pretty much find this game enjoyable. Just that I'm not in that kind of stuff. I wished also the game had a better story that would have continued to pull me along, but I just got tired of what was really repetitive stuff. So, is this game cool? Well, actually, let's talk about a few other things before we do go into that. Well, first of all, the game has integration with Ubisoft Club, so you do earn this Ubisoft points when you play the game, and you can use the Ubisoft Club points to buy some cosmetics for this game. Talking of cosmetics, something that I forgot to mention is that there are quite a few of them. You can dress up your guy however you want to. right? And you can do so as ridiculously as you want to. There's also different loot boxes that are available to you for cosmetics. To open up, actually opening them up, those loot boxes with cosmetics is way more exciting, or at least present to be way more exciting than opening up the loot boxes that contain weapons or armor. The game has a very quick tutorial, so it doesn't really stretches it out. It's very quickly, it goes through and then lands you right into the story, so it's pretty good that way. Let's see, where's the other guy? Ah, here he is. Alright. There are some bugs in the game, such as I encountered during some missions, such as there's a rappel rope that you're supposed to finish the mission with and go down it, but it just didn't work for me for some reason. There was 2 instances when the game just kicked me out completely, and I had to load it back in. Finally, the game is available on Uplay Plus subscription. It's all the expansions, so if you have that, you can always try this game out. So let's get back to the fact that I said that this is a good game overall. It's just that it doesn't seem to be my kind of type of game. Is this a cool game? Well, I don't know. I'm not really feeling that I'm doing anything really special or cool here in such a way. So I'm gonna go with it's uncool, but it's a good game. Alright, well, thank you for watching and for listening. If you like this video, please like. If you didn't like it, don't like it, and please subscribe.